Hello, friends, and welcome to a very special live Kings of Anglia Ipswich Town podcast, proudly sponsored by Stardust Spirits and the Molecular UK. I'm Mark Heath. I'm joined at the moment by Stewie Watson and the boy Rossi. AJ missed his train back from the press conference, so he's somewhere on the way. Hopefully, at some point, he'll join us. But boys, 16 years. Once again, we're here. 16 years since Ipswich Town last won this game. There've been 6 Prime Ministers, boys, since Town last won this game. And I looked them up earlier. Gordon Brown, David Cameron, Theresa May, Boris Johnson, Liz Truss, that wasn't very long, Richie Sunak, and the current incumbent, of course, Keir Starmer. So that just shows what a long time it's been. We've all changed. When Ipswich last won this game, I was still in my 20s. I had my own teeth as well. Now, obviously, got the Hollywood smile since then. Stewie, you were yet to become a father. You had a lovely head of hair. And Rossi, you couldn't even drive. Wait, yeah. Well, some things never change. But friends, welcome along. Thanks for choosing to spend your Friday evening with us. We've got a great show for you lined up. And we're going to start because we have a special guest who's going to give us the Norwich angle on things. But before I bring him in, boys, I want your 3-word summaries just to kick us off as to how you're feeling going into this game. So, Rossi, can you sum up your feelings in 3 words?
In Kieran McKenna's words, just another game. Just another game on the list. No. In all seriousness, bring it on. I'm not nervous. I'm just excited. I think derby games, I just look forward to it. It's the first game you look for when the fixtures come out, and when we got the fixtures in June. I was just looking forward to October 5th. So just bring it on.
Stewie, we've been doing this for a long time, mate. Who would have thought when we started doing this in 2011 that we would have reported on Ipswich Town winning back-to-back promotions, getting promoted to the Premier League, getting relegated from the Premier League, and yet they still haven't beaten Norwich. How are you feeling about this one, mate? Can you give us 3 words?
3 were excited, ! Brackets, and scared, close brackets.
Yeah, I can think of 3 words. Absolutely shitting it. That'd be my 3 words. Anyway, without further ado, let's bring in our special guest. His name is Paddy Davitt. He's joining us from the Pink, and he's the football editor at the Pink, and obviously our sister title covers Norwich City. He does come in peace though, because Paddy has blue in his heart. He's a sky blue from Coventry. So give him a warm welcome as we call him in. He's in the pub as well, which I absolutely love. He's got a pint on the go. So let's get Paddy in and see what he's got to say for himself. Paddy.
Evening, chaps. How are you?
How are you?
Struggling with the audio here. It's probably not the brightest move on a Friday night to come to a very crowded pub here in Norwich, near where I live. As I was saying to you boys just off camera, I've got a 5-year-old and an 18-month-old. I thought this would be quieter. I'm not sure it actually is. But it's the witching hour at home, so I had to tell my wife, "Sorry, you've got to look after the kids tonight. I've got to go and see football with these boys." So it's a win-win for me.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much, mate, for taking the time to join us. I'm going to start. You're here, obviously, to give us the kind of Norwich angle on things, and I'd like to start, if you don't mind, just asking you for your 3 words in terms of how you feel like Norwich are feeling going into this game, because from the outside looking in, it already looks like there's a bit of maybe toxic energy down the road. Liam Manning obviously come in, a lot of new signings, and things aren't really going that well.
No, 3 words. Yeah, well, I mean, if I follow on from that, Mark, probably trepidation, fearful, and nervous probably because, I mean, I go back with this fixture and doing what we do over the board here, but I go back to Lambert in green and yellow, not even Lambert in blue. That's how long I've been in and around this fixture, and I can honestly probably say, without a fear of contradiction, the mood around this club now in terms of the fan base going into one of these fixtures in that length of time is probably as fearful, as I said, about the outcome here. There's a real mood of fractiousness, frustration, palpable unhappiness at this direction of travel under Liam Manning thus far. They got booed off the last 2 home games. There's a real telling stat in amongst a lot of the stats. They played West Brom here at KOA Road Wednesday, just gone. The attendance was the lowest in 14 years, which is a worrying sign, because obviously you could talk around midweek, and we all know the challenge of maybe getting children to a midweek game with a school night and logistics of all that nature. But I think the reality is, if Norwich has started the season very well, that crowd attendance is around about the usual levels. The fact that it's the lowest in 14 years, to see what was a record equaling 4 straight league defeat at Carrow Road at the start of the season, it's an unwanted piece of history for Liam Manning. It just flows into this feeling of disconnect, and it's been compounded. I was telling you boys off camera before we started today, you've probably not seen it your side of the border, but in the last few hours, the club have announced like a Carrow Road roadmap to expansion, ultimately to bring the attendance or the capacity up to 35,000, dependent on Premier League promotion down the track. But in the here and now, from next season, the away section there at Carrow Road is getting moved to a different part of the stadium behind one of the goals. And it's mainly to facilitate a new home fan park they want to do at that end of the ground. But actually, what it's going to have to require is 3,500 home season ticket holders effectively being evicted from where they've sat 10, 20, 30 years with family and friends to a different part of the ground. Now, the timing of that, the PR and comms is disastrous. 2 days out from a derby, you're looking for unity, and they've announced this, and you can imagine on social media in the last 2 or 3 hours, the reaction universally has been, what on earth is going on? What are you doing? It's more of this narrative around this club that they're rudderless a little bit at the moment. They're inside the club, the people shaping the direction of travel don't really understand what their fan base wants. That's on the pitch and that's off the pitch as well. So all of that, I'm afraid, from a Norwich perspective, it's probably great to hear from an Ipswich perspective, but from a Norwich perspective, it feeds this sense going into Sunday's game that I think it's going to be 16 and out, really, from a Norwich perspective.
Yeah, I mean, just bringing in, we've had a question, I think, from a Norwich fan, Paddy, Nigel Krask, who says, top man, Paddy, big fan of yours. He says, just praying our long unbeaten run continues over Ipswich. Derby Day form goes out the window. They will be favourites, but Manning needs a result or it's game over. Now, again, looking from the kind of outside looking in, when Norwich appointed Liam Manning, I thought that was an excellent appointment. I think most people really rate Liam Manning, but it seems to have gone downhill rapidly. And I watched you and Connor talking about this game live at lunchtime, and you seem to be suggesting it could potentially be very pivotal. So how's it gone so wrong so quickly for someone like Liam Manning?
Yeah, it's a puzzle. I mean, we're 8 games in, and as I said earlier on, you're right, Mark, as on our preview show, that these last 2 or 3 press conferences, Liam Manning's had to basically bat away questions. Are you feeling under pressure? Which, as I said earlier, and I'll say here, you know, in what we do, that's code for is your job at risk. Now, to get to that point this early is probably externally, anybody looking at it thinks, well, how can that be? But what's not in his favour is that he replaced the guy who was basically jettisoned, Johannes Torp, this Danish coach. They went quite out of the box, almost Daniel Farker type of experiment, and it lasted 10 months, and they pulled the plug because they felt he wasn't going to get them anywhere near the top 6, and that is, the sporting director reiterated that over the summer, that is the bare requirement for Norwich when they play in the Championship, season in, season out, irrespective of who the head coach is, who the players are. Top 6 is almost the baseline of what he'll get judged by. Clearly, Liam Manning knew that. He accepted that when he swapped Bristol to come back to in a place he knows well. He was born in Norwich. He was brought up in Bungay. I know he's got his Ipswich connections along with his assistant Chris Hogg, but you know he has a lot of Norwich supporting family. He knew all about this club coming into it, what the expectation was, and it just hasn't happened. You know, you look at, I touched on it in my opening remarks, 4 home defeats at Carrow Road from 4 games. It's just not acceptable, and you can imagine that the fan base seeing that and not seeing this. Well, okay, we were told and we were sold a top 6 project. This is so far removed from it. Okay, away from home, in contrast, they're unbeaten in 4. They've ground out 8 points. But even, and this is the key, I think, in terms of the Liam Manning scenario, the way they're doing it, it's grim, hanging in for dear life. They went to Coventry, they went to Stoke. They had less of the ball. They had far fewer shots, far fewer touches in the final penalty box, final third. Yes, they won at Blackburn. Yes, they won at Portsmouth. But both of those were rearguard actions as well. So what you're getting under Liam Manning is this basically pretty unedifying football, brand of football, and it's only resilience that's got them those points on the road. Then they've come back to Carrow Road. They're not able to even get a point on the board, let alone a win. playing that brand of football, you can understand why. And obviously, as Ipswich have had to experience as well, this is now 4 seasons in for Norwich. You know, their fan base aren't quite used to this treading water sensation, and that's what, unfortunately, for Liam Manning, he's had to inherit. He's inherited that. He's inherited what's gone wrong in 3 previous years, but he's unfortunately in the first 8-9 games, he's not really shown enough signs that he's the man to turn it around, and that's why there's this, I say, underlying frustration, but to go back to what I said earlier, the last 2 home games, he and his players have been booed off. So it's actually erupting now. And the fear, I think, is if they come to Portman Road Sunday, not only just lose the game, but they are no better in terms of how they approach it. And if it's 90 minutes of them digging in on the edge of their own box, trying to repel these waves of blue attacks, and they get beat badly from a Norwich perspective, I think that will probably be, whether you like it or not, probably going to be the end for Liam Manning, because that will just compound this sense that he's not the man to drive this club forward.
Wow. Okay, so it's that serious. Just had a comment in, Paddy. You like this? Paul Clark says, "I love Paddy's excuse to be down the pub." I enjoy it as well. Can I ask you, Paddy, as well? I mean, I'm gonna get you to run through the potential starting 11 in a minute, but clearly one of the other main narratives going into this game is a certain Marcelino Nunes having crossed the border completely out of the blue, shockwaves down this end of the road. But what kind of impact did that actually have at Norwich? Is that a big talking point going into this game?
Well, to be fair, Mark, I mean, I've talked a lot about this. I've talked about this fan expansion plan that's gone down badly. I've talked about on the pitch that's gone down badly in terms of the so far the results and performances. You can imagine that initially went down very badly as well, because it was almost like, do the people running this club understand what it is to be Norwich, what it is to be Ipswich, what that tribal element is all about? Because as we know, I think he was the first senior player. I know Liam Gibbs did it in reverse, but in terms of senior established player, you're talking 25 years back to Andy Marshall. That's how infrequent this happens. So even the monetary side of it, which was 7.5 guaranteed, and maybe some more for a player with 12 months left, in a purely business sense, nobody disputed that's good business. But it's more the optics of it, because he was probably their most creative midfielder as well. They haven't, in terms of the recruitment they've done, replaced him like for like. And as I say, now they're struggling on the ball. They're struggling to control games and set the right tempo. And you've sold the best operator you had to achieve that to your deadly rival. So, yeah, no, it all flows into this narrative. I mean, to be fair, Liam Manning himself was very good. I think I was around about the last game before the first international break. Norwich won at Blackburn that day, and post-match he was very good in his messaging. He hit all the right tone, all the right buttons, and I think subsequently it's probably turned more towards this is on Nunes and his betrayal almost, rather than the club and the club hierarchy. But that initial 24 hours, when the news dropped, it was a batten down the hatches job in terms of if you had anything to do with that decision from a Norwich perspective. But I think with the passage of time now, it's more, well, he didn't want to be here. They've got the best deal they could have done for a player with 12 months left, and they just hope now he obviously fails spectacularly in a blue shirt.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna get you to go through the potential starting 11 in a minute. Stu, is there anything you want to ask Paddy before I do that?
The vibe now, Paddy, is obviously very different to sort of the last time they met, because Ipswich were favourites going into the last derby at Portman Road, but that was as a team that had just come up from League One with a bit of momentum. Norwich's state then compared to now, you feel that they've regressed. I mean, it's interesting. You touched upon it. Ipswich, we've been through that period of treading water in the Championship, that sort of death by 1,000 cuts, and I think, I might have said to you boys, once you get out of that parachute payment cycle, you can get caught in the quicksands of the Championship very quickly. Does it feel a little bit like that at the moment?
Yes and no, Stu, because maybe not in the scale of what Ipswich did in terms of the window just gone. I know they recouped obviously substantial funds for Delap and Hutchinson, but Norwich actually, I think, maybe you take the 3 clubs who came down out of the equation, they actually did spend considerably. They brought in 12 new players. They played Stoke in the last away game. They had £24 million worth of player on the bench, and a lot of those were the new signings over the summer. So they've got, like Ipswich, they've got an American ownership now. The baton has passed from Delia and her husband, who were the long custodians for the 25 years prior. So it's basically a guy anybody doesn't know. Maybe it's a guy called Mark Attanasio. He's the owner of the Brewers, the Milwaukee Brewers, who are obviously an MLB team. His own personal fortune is estimated around $1 billion. He's a venture capitalist. He's a very successful businessman, and he has the funds to bankroll it, and he's willing to do that. But within that, he's been at the Brewers for 18 years, and anybody who knows anything about baseball, they're in a very small town market, compared to some of the, the bigger, the Yankees and these sort of marquee clubs in baseball. But they're serial contenders for the playoffs, and that's been achieved with a very data-led approach. He's not one who throws money at it. He wants to maximise whatever expenditure they do. And what Norwich have done since he's come in now, since he's taken the baton on from Delia, just over the last summer, they've got beefed up massively their data department. The amount of analysts they've got there now, with a view to almost trying to go down a pathway. You've seen Brentford, you've seen Brighton successfully do it, where they've got wealthy ownership, but actually their success is rooted in this being almost ahead of the curve. And that's very much where Norwich are trying to go with this. They recruited a sport director in Ben Napper from Arsenal, who came with that metric background. And everything they do now, every decision they make is informed through the data, and almost trying to have these in-house teams of computer scientists almost. That's the level they're taking it to. So all of that feeds into, as I said at the outset, that this is going to be a season of not like last season was transition and maybe building blocks. No, that we're going to have a full-on assault, and to do that, they've got a guy who got a team into the top six last season, Liam Manning, and it simply hasn't happened. It's just been this enduring misery for the first 8 games, where there's not even, you can't even see what they're trying to do in terms of in possession, out of possession. It's just clinging on for dear life in a lot of the games where they've taken points, and at KOA Road, they've just never been able to get themselves into a winning position and hold on to it. So that's the fear that, as we've discussed, Stokes of this world, probably they're the best example at the moment, because obviously Ipswich managed to pull themselves out of that cycle and get themselves up the divisions. But you look at a club like Stoke, there were serial Premier League members for a long period of time, and I don't know how many years they've been in this league now. And once you get in that league, and of course the fear, and it has been expressed in some quarters, is you don't just stay here. You do what Ipswich and Norwich have done previously, and you go the other way, and you end up in League One. And we've seen plenty of examples of clubs at Forest, Leeds, my team, Coventry, for a number of years. You go down to League One. It's not, even Ipswich took a few years, didn't they, to come back up. It's not a guarantee. You drop down, and it's okay. Well, we can rebuild from a smaller, less competitive base. It can go the other way. So that's the great fear, that it's not only that the ambitious ceiling they've set is maybe unobtainable, it's what is coming behind them if they make another change. I mean, if they get rid of Manning now, which isn't out of the bounds of probability, that would be 2 head coaches in less than 6 months. With that lack of stability, it's impossible to build anything that is justifiably in that top 6 contention. Yeah.
Speaking of lack of stability, Paddy, I'm going to get you to talk us through the potential starting 11. I got this from your colleague Sam earlier. This is his kind of predicted 11. Injury problems as well Norwich have got. I think that's forced a change in formation. There's a player playing out of position in the back line. I think Kenny McLean, the captain, is carrying a back injury. Can you just talk us through sort of players to look out for? And I mean, clearly, again, from the outside looking in, it seems like Josh Sargent is far and away the best player that Norwich have, and he's going to be the main threat for Ipswich to look out for on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, that is a fair comment, but in this quest for sort of developing something that is more controlling games, he started the season well. I think he scored 5 in his first 4 games, but he hasn't scored for 3 or 4 games, and he's just putting an increasingly isolated figure. Yeah, because he's the type of striker. I mean, there may be some pushback in some quarters, but I think most think he's one of, if not the best number 9 in the division. But he's the type of striker who needs service. He needs balls down the channel. He's a very athletic, very explosive type of player. What he isn't is a player who's going to pick the ball up, dribble past 4 players and put it in the top corner. So he needs service. He needs players in midfield and forward positions in and around him. And what's effectively happened in a lot of these games recently is Norwich have just sunk deeper and deeper into that lower block, parked in front of their back 4, and the distances to him are just too vast, and he's having to come increasingly deeper to try and get involved in the play. So, yes, he is the threat, but it'll only be a threat if they can build on where they were actually, although they lost against West Brom in midweek. That was probably Norwich's best performance on the ball, in possession. They were much better in terms of higher up the pitch, higher starting positions, and he had a lot more support around him as a result. So that has to be the hope going to Ipswich, that they can build on that a little bit, while knowing they'll clearly have to weather periods where Ipswich have a lot of the ball and pressure. But digging into those names you've got there, Mark, I mean, quite a few of the new signings are in that back four. Kovacevic was an interesting one. He was a keeper who was very highly thought of in sort of the Polish circles. He was at Legia Warsaw. He got linked to one or two big clubs, Bayern Munich at one point. He got his move eventually. He went to Sporting Lisbon, and it just didn't happen. He played 4 or 5 games last season. I don't think he convinced. Came out of the side, and then he ended up back on loan in Poland, and then Norwich have nipped in. He was one on Norwich's radar for quite some time, so they clearly, when he went to Portugal, they thought that was it. He's a ball-playing keeper, so his tariff is very. At some point, I guarantee this season, he will be lobbed, and he will be like 35 yards out of his goal because he takes chances. He's almost the Manuel Neuer sweeper keeper,
right?
And you can imagine some of the old timers at KOA Road have already had a few heart palpitations as he messes about with the ball outside his own area. So if he tries that at Portman Road, it's going to be quite interesting. And then 2 other, Medic was a guy they got from Ajax. Again, to underline what we're saying about the recruitment, he was quite ambitious, quite progressive. They brought him in from Ajax in the summer, but he's pace-wise has been exposed a few times. I think if Ipswich were looking to sort of get him in one-on-one situations, there's only going to be one winner because he's a good defender and he's excellent on the ball, but certainly pace-wise, going back towards his own goal, he's been suspect on more than one occasion this season. The standout signing has been Harry Darling. Proven Championship performer. They got him on a free from Swansea. I think there was a lot of interest in him from across the Championship, and clubs in Scotland looked at him as well. I think Rangers were quite keen on him. But his relationship with Liam Manning, he had him at MK Dons, and I think Darling attributed Manning with being one of his most formative early influences. He's been excellent, real stalwart, defensive linchpin. Those rearguard actions I've referenced quite a lot in this chat. He's been at the heart of it, putting his body on the line near post screening. He's far and away head and shoulders their best summer edition so far. And moving it on there, they'll probably play with those 2, Matson and McLean. Kenny McLean he's the link to the Farker era now. He's the longest serving player that's still left on the books. He knows what it takes to get the team out of this division. Scottish international, but he's not getting any younger. He's 34. I think in February he's got injury issues. I think it's touch and go if he's available for Sunday. He's had this back complaint he's been managing. Liam Manning said he was hopeful when he did his media on Wednesday, but it wouldn't surprise me if he doesn't make it. And if so, it'll probably be another new signing they brought in those areas of the pitch, Mirko Topic, who they got from Portuguese football as well. Hella Matson came from Danish football. Again, another young player. A lot of the signings they've made is with the view to, well, in the short term, they'll be better for Norwich, but they see them as high transfer ceilings, and he's another one. His numbers apparently are very good. Again, leaning into the data metric side of it. And then forward areas, behind Sargent, you've got those 3. Makama, he's an interesting one. He's one of the domestic signings. They got him. He's a young lad, massive, powerful physique, but they got him from Lincoln. So he's stepping up in a big way from League 2 levels. But he's actually looked to have grasped the nettle, taken his opportunity. He scored in 2 of the last 3 games. And what he is, he's an impact player. I mean, Sam, my colleague, I think, has given you that lineup. I won't be surprised to see him maybe start on the bench and he comes into the game, particularly if it's in the balance, sort of second half at Portman Road, because he will have an impact. He's a big, physical, robust, almost throwback type of striker. And then the big disappointment in that list in terms of forward areas is the boy Antti Cernach. One of the signings from last summer, they paid $8.5 million for him. They got him from Polish football. He's a Croatian under-21 international. His numbers actually last season weren't too bad. I think he had about 12 goal contributions in about 38 championship games. And we spoke to Ben Apple. We was out with the team in Holland. They were in pre-season. We got some great access to the group. And we had a lunch with Ben Apple, the sporting director, and he was saying that for players of his age, 21 and under, in the championship last season, he was second or third on the list of goal contributions. So the expectation was, well, he's had his first season in England. He's understood now what it's all about in terms of a new country, new league, new culture on and off the pitch. He's adjusted. He'll kick on. He could go skyrocketing. He could be a Emi Buendia from back in the day. He could be a Boar Science from last season. Simply hasn't happened. much like the team, he's had a shocker of the start to the season. I don't think he's registered a goal or an assist. He's actually been pulled out of the side. He came back in midweek, and he just looks like a player who's lost his way. You know, whether the change of coach from the guy who brought him in to Manning he's dealing with that. He's trying to navigate that, but he's probably symptomatic of why there was so much expectation around Norwich before a ball was kicked, and it's yet to have been realised because he certainly hasn't kicked on. If anything, he's gone backwards and he's regressed. So for him, you can kind of read that for the whole Norwich team. So yeah, if that is the 11, I think they're going to be reasonably strong defensively with Darling, but the question is there enough creativity in and around Sargent really? And if there isn't, then it's going to be a long afternoon, I think, for those Norwich players.
Which brings us on perfectly, Paddy, to my final question, and then we're going to let you get on and sink your pint because you've done some sterling work. The obvious question is the prediction, Paddy. Now we know there's a lot of history. This game, if you haven't won this game for 16 years, we may have mentioned that a few times. Do you think that's going to change on Sunday in Suffolk?
Well, I'm going to stick with what I said earlier on our show, and I think it will. I think it's a 2-1 home win. I don't think it'll be a great game because these games never are really, are they? You get passages of football breaking out amongst the arm wrestles. So I can see it being that again. There's so much on the line for both clubs, both sets of fans, both sets of players, and both head coaches. So I just look at it. And in the rounds, Norwich have lost 5 games already this season out of 8 or 9. Ipswich have lost 1. Ipswich are the team who feel to me moving further forward. They're on an upward curve. Norwich are just in this, at the moment, holding pattern. Now, the only caveat I would say is if I'm Liam Manning, I'm using that because what the view I've expressed there is the view of a lot of the Norwich fans. They don't really see a passage to Norwich maintaining that 16-year dominance this weekend. So if I'm Liam Manning, I'm using that. I'm going siege mentality, pull the wagons round. Even our own fan base don't think we can go there and get a result. Let's go and show and prove a few people wrong, and who knows. And of course, the flip side of that is, I know you boys were down with McKenna earlier today and reading his quotes. He was trying to play down that there's any pressure on them, but there must be an expectation now. There must be a weight of this is your time now, McKenna and those players. You've got to step up. You've got to grasp it. They failed 2 years ago when, as Stuart rightly said, that was probably their time. They'll never get a better opportunity, I think, the way Norwich are at the moment. So go and grasp it. And if that pressure weighs a little heavily on some of the shoulders of those Ipswich players, then maybe there's a path to Norwich getting a result. But we're straw clutching from a Norwich angle. So for me, it's a 2-1 home win.
Excellent. Well, thanks very much for joining us, Paddy. Appreciate that. And fighting against the noise in the pub. Go and enjoy your well-earned pint now. Maybe tell your wife that you've been delayed a little bit longer and you might need a second one.
Oh, them lads kept me talking until about
exactly. We're notorious for talking about football. So really appreciate you joining us, Paddy. Enjoy the game on Sunday. And obviously we'll say hello when we see you. Cheers, mate.
See you later. Cheers, all us.
Take care. There we go then, boys. And just as if we planned it, just as Paddy goes off to sink the rest of his pint, we have a late joiner who has been delayed by travel chaos. Do you want to bring yourself in now, AJ, and explain yourself?
Yeah, go on. Hello, everyone. Good to be here, finally. 29 minutes and 5 seconds after you guys started. Traffic in Ipswich is fun, isn't it? As Stu and I found out this afternoon, trying to get from Ipswich through to Needham Market. Missed the train. Spent about 45 minutes in a pub on my own in Needham Market, having a nice pint. Finally got on the train, realised, I'm cutting a bit of fine here. Getting back, I made the rookie error, right? The big rookie error, which was I went to the toilet on the train, come back out, lost my seat. Really, really bad move. But yes, did make it back just about in time to actually make it on here at all. So good to be here.
Excellent. And just as you arrive, we're just having a few nice comments for the person who was in your seat, as it were, Peter McLeod. Our old friend Peter, Polish correspondent, says, cheers, Paddy. Great contribution. We've got a few more here. Might as well bring these up. Shane Griffin, AD Croucher. Did Paddy ever come up for breath? Certainly a man of knowledge. Yeah, he certainly knows his football, does Paddy. A few more along those lines. Right then, should we take a few of these thoughts before we get onto the town in-depth kind of chat? There was one here that I really wanted to see. Let me see if I can find it because it's one for Ross. Where were we? It was to do with Kovacic. We've got a lot of comments. There we go. Can you do this? This is from Peter Rossi. Can you inform the viewers who Kovacic used to play for? Can you pronounce that, Rossi?
Oh, bloody! When I saw this, I was hoping it was going to just be hidden. Hopefully, there's going to be more comments. But yeah, Peter, I love you, mate, but you always do this to me. Rakau, maybe start with, and then the rest. Jesus.
Have we got
Stockwell? I don't know.
I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't actually be 100% confident.
Yeah, go on
pronouncing that. No, what? No, I'm in charge, mate. I don't do that.
Yeah.
Friends, shall we start talking about Ipswich Town? And we can move in that direction via the pressers from today, because obviously you boys were down there speaking to Kieran McKenna and Dara O'Shea. Stu, do you want to give us a kind of feeling of the mood in the room? Because we kind of joked earlier. Well, I joked that Kieran would be kind of playing it with a very straight bat and would be the usual kind of, they're a very good team and we need to be at our best and we need to put them on a performance and we'll try, we'll do our very best to do that, all that kind of stuff. But having looked at his comments and spoken to you afterwards, he did kind of a couple of little comments in there, mind games-esque wise.
Yes, I think that might be the most relaxed I've ever seen Kieran McKenna in his time as manager. He was in a bit of a playful mood today. He was smiling, a few little jokes. Didn't feel contrived to me. He's got the air of a man that I think knows that feels that it's coming together a little bit, that there's granted still a long way to go, but I think he's pretty pleased with this squad that he's put together, and he's felt post-transfer window that they're taking steps forward, they're coming together. And I know we joke sometimes that Kieran McKenna's press conferences, we talked about Paddy being a man of many words. I guess we'll probably all fall into that bracket as well. But Kieran McKenna certainly is as well. And a lot of pre-match press conferences are cliche-ridden, routine, same things, aren't they? But he's not adverse to jumping in with the mind games from time to time. Do you remember him having a pop at Danny Cowley after the Portsmouth game about tricks and traps and stuff like that? And, he's picked up on the fact that a few managers are talking about Ipswich's budget. He's picked up on the fact that Liam Manning's talked about all the pressure being on Ipswich. And he tried to sort of flip the tables this afternoon and how it's all about Norwich's record to lose. So I think he had a little bit of fun today. It was always with a bit tongue-in-cheek, bit of a wry smile. Very relaxed, I thought.
A few people in the comments saying we spent too long getting the Norwich side of things, which, we try and cover all bases, and clearly we have a good contact with the boys down the road at Norwich. So I thought it'd be interesting and useful to get a bit of insight into how things are going on down there, because really all we're doing is kind of looking from the outside in and to get insight into how they actually are feeling going to this game. I thought it was interesting. But anyway, friends, apologies if that did wind you up. We are now fully engaged in Ipswich Town chat, though. AJ, how was Dara O'Shea today? He's going to be, it's his first derby game, and it's his first derby game as skipper. So a big game for him. How was he feeling?
Yeah, I got the important question out of the way in this one. What did he make of the chant that was sung at Bromley? Very happy that I finally managed to ask him that one after so long, being stuck in my head more than anything. I think in the same kind of vein as Kieran McKenna, to be honest, and you notice this with a lot of players, I guess last season with that kind of senior leadership group, that if you talk to them at the same press conference you talk to McKenna, you see a lot of similarities in terms of what they say and also how they say it. So speaking to someone who came across as relaxed, but also didn't underplay what he was getting into, essentially, and spoke very openly about topics such as what it would be like to come up against Norwich as a team and not underestimating them, and talking about coming up against Josh Sargent, I thought was quite interesting, and wanting to come up against the best strikers in the division. The coach welcome's always been a big one as well. I know Kieran was asked about this, and I asked Dara O'Shea, what do you think about it? Because it's been something that splits opinion and splits what supporters think about it. Dara O'Shea's all for it. Really wants to have that. So yeah, exactly, Ross. That's kind of the thing. Wants to embrace it. And I know Kieran McKenna was the same way. So yeah, two people, and in O'Shea's case, a player who's fully aware of what Sunday is going to be, but also you can sense that kind of cool, calm collectedness that you need to go and be successful in a game like this.
I like this, Rossi, from Shane Griffin. He says, "I feel Roscoe's pain, but at least I can drive." Anything you want to say about
No comment, not on a live show.
that? Interesting comment here from Lee, and this touched on something we've been talking about. Rossi, he says, "I'm really not into the coach welcome. We've seen quite a few of them now, and that, you know, Exeter and Huddersfield and Norwich. They are tremendously atmospheric. But is it something you're looking forward to? Do you get excited for it? Do you think it lifts the players? Do you think it adds any extra pressure to them?"
Do you know what? Someone made a good point. I have to shout out to one of my drivers, Joe, who took me to Bristol City. He mentioned, because we spoke about it on the drive down to Bristol, and he said it's different for these players because a lot of them have not experienced it before. So I get that point of view, because there's only been Leif Davis, George Hurst, Christian Walton, Jack Taylor, I think, was in the squad as well. So yeah, it's a new crop of players who are going to experience this for the first time. But yeah, I think it's been done now a few times. It's still going to be a great atmosphere. I'm sure they're going to, I'm sure Blue Action and Co are going to make it look even more better. I don't know how they're going to be able to top what they've done so far, but yeah, for me, I don't know. I don't think it adds. If we lose, I don't think we'll use that. That's the reason why we lost. The reason why we lost, if we do lose, we're not going to lose, by the way. It's on the pitch. But yeah, I get people who don't like it. I get people who do like it. So do what you want, guys.
Fair enough.
Can I just sort of jump in there?
Yeah.
I'm told that Kieran McKenna. I know that Kieran McKenna was very keen to take some questions on the coach welcome ahead of this press conference. I was kind of primed to ask him because I think he was a bit disappointed that there is even a debate around whether this is the right thing to do. He is 100% behind this. And as he rightly points out, and as you've said, Mark, they've done it 3 times so far. They thrashed Exeter 6-0 when promotion was on the line in League One. They got the job done against Huddersfield when the pressure was really on to get to the Premier League. And then even in that game against Norwich, that was a really good performance that day. That was a team that played with adrenaline and had a hatful of chances. Still not sure how they didn't win that game. Nathan Broadhead had a ton of chances, didn't he, in that game? So as he rightly points out, it's lifted the players before. As Ross says, this is a new group of players that haven't experienced it. And for me, this weekend, this Sunday, is a chance now for this team and the supporter base to really sort of bond. This is a bonding moment. I get the sense from the fan base that they're still a little bit uncertain about a new group of players, and all their former favourites have gone, and they're still trying to sort of get their head around that, understandably so. And these new group of players are still in that period of realising and learning how good this fan base is. They're starting, every time they'll go to Bristol City on a midweek and see a packed away end and the noise that they make. And so they're coming together. And I think this coach welcome can only help kind of strengthen those bonds. And hopefully it translates on the pitch as it has done before.
Yeah. You missed it, AJ, because you were mid-travel hell. But there was a lot of chat with Paddy around it being a pivotal feeling game for Norwich, in that if it goes badly, I mean, he was even suggesting that if Norwich get a thumping, what a shame that would be, that Liam Manning might be out the door. And conversely, if they manage to get a result, even if it's a draw, that can really stable the ship and give them something to cling on to. Do you feel like it can also go for Ipswich Town, if they win this game, a game they've not won for 16 years, with this new group of players kind of trying to gel together? Do you think, we keep using this term lift-off? It's lift-off. But it really does feel like it might actually be, if they put in a performance and get this win on Sunday, it could be tremendous, couldn't it?
Yeah. First thing, I did get to watch the bit with Paddy. I was sat in the back of a taxi with YouTube on, my headphones on, tuning in. Thought I'd comment maybe, but decided not to. I thought I'd wait and bring myself in. I would agree with that. Obviously, the extremes are not as extreme when it comes to comparing Ipswich with Norwich in this case, where if they win, I guess from Norwich's perspective, does it change that much? Probably not. If they lose, well, and Paddy's explained what the situation is there. From an Ipswich perspective, I think a defeat kind of just would, or not winning the match would like the worst possible time, going into an international break, going into a really daunting trip up to Middlesbrough, who've been one of the best teams in the division so far, a busy run with Charlton and West Brom and QPR on the horizon, whereas winning this match, putting in a strong performance, taking 3 points, then means that you've got 2 weeks to think, wow, I'm so excited to go back and watch this team again and get behind these people. As Stu rightly says, they're players that probably fans haven't fully bought into yet as a whole, and that's totally understandable and is something that we should respect. But if you have a game like this where some of these new signings can stand up and make themselves heroes, then all of a sudden, yes, you've got everything that stands in isolation with the game and what it means. But also then, when you go up to Middlesbrough on a Friday night, when you have West Brom coming on a Saturday 12:30, or the Charlton game, or you're coming into the winter months even, and you've got to go to Hull on a Tuesday, followed by Oxford on a Friday, then you're thinking, you know what? I want to go see these guys again. I want to cheer them on. I want to be supportive of them. And it makes it easier, doesn't it? And that's the kind of thing that can kick you on. It will kick the supporters on, but also it will give those players such a big boost to know that they've been able to play a part in history and also been able to do something that has really got the whole fan base behind them. So lifts you on the pitch, lifts you off the pitch. It's what you really need for a run like Ipswich have got coming up.
Yeah, it really does feel like it could be huge. This Peter Mitchell on Facebook says, will Nunes play a part in the East Anglian Derby? Which brings us on nicely, Pete, to the next chat I want to have, which is who will play starting 11. Now, we saw a lot of changes in midweek, more than I was expecting. I think more than the new boys were expecting as well. So how do you see the starting 11 shaping up, Stu? I know you've written something, which is going online. That's actually online already. A lot of it, I think, is probably quite set in stone, but there are definitely question marks around certain areas. Do you want to talk us through what you think might happen?
Yeah, I think the defence and midfield is pretty set in stone, to be honest. I know I've seen a few comments in there saying people would welcome Cedric Kipre back in the side, but for me, it's Kieran McKenna is going to want to really build this partnership between Dara O'Shea and Jacob Greaves. So it will be Furlong right back, Davis left back, Palmer in goal, Matasiwa, who is probably out of all the new signings the furthest down the line in terms of getting people fully behind him, and I think we're all enjoying seeing him improve. Then we get onto the Marcelino Nunez debate. Made his full debut in midweek against Bristol City. Thought you could see what he is as a player. He wants the ball. He wants to play forward. He's got technical qualities, but he was a bit rusty at times. I think that was 6 weeks on from when he picked up an ankle injury playing for Norwich earlier in the season. I don't think there's any question that Jens Kajusta comes back into this team. We've talked about him on the pod multiple times this season as probably being Ipswich's best player at the moment. He looks a cut above in the Championship. The only reason he dipped out in midweek was probably just to protect him from a fitness point of view. So, Nunez off the bench, though, is more than likely going to happen at some point. And whatever the game state is, you can imagine the crackle of anticipation when he comes on and when Ipswich get a free kick in the final third thereafter. And then I think that the bigger question marks over the top end of the pitch, the whole front four changed in midweek. Has Kieran McKenna found a combination out of his power-packed attack that has fully clicked thus far? No. There's debate there, isn't there? I mean, the one player I think we could really, there's probably two that I'd hang my hat on is Philogene on the left, someone who scored 4 goals in his last 2 games at Portman Road. I'm almost certain George Hurst will come back in up front, even though Azon sort of put himself about quite nicely in midweek. I think he'll be one that steps off the bench. He looks like he could be quite suited to a derby day, doesn't he, actually? But Hurst up front. And then probably the question marks over the 10 and the right winger. Is it Schmodix or Akpom in the middle? And is it Ageli or McAteer on the right? Go on, what do you boys think?
I'm going to ask Ross this because he hates talking about the lineup. Who do you reckon, Rossi? So there's definite questions around that kind of that front area, the right wing, particularly in the 10. We've seen people there saying maybe Akpom, maybe even play Nunes in the 10. Have you got any thoughts on that?
Well, spoiler alert for my first goal scorer, Sammy Smodics, by the way.
Yeah.
So he's got a start. He's my first town goal scorer. I know that Ecclesi scored in the second half and it could be 0-0 at half time. But I don't know. I just have a feeling Sammy will be really up for this. He's that sort of character, that sort of player. So, yeah, I know he's not had the best start to life this season, but I'll start him. Akpom could be a good bench option if needed. Nunes in number 10 role, I could see it maybe, something maybe McKenna looks at in the future. But for me, Smodics, go for it.
I like Sammy in this game, I think. AJ, what?
What a time for him to score his first Portman Road goal. Still hasn't scored.
Yeah, first goal of the season as well.
Yeah.
He's not scored yet, has he?
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? I agree with you. I think he's got that little bit of edge and grit to him. He's the sort of player that he's got some of those character traits that I think would be suited to this game.
AJ, I'm going to ask you the same question. Have you got any thoughts particularly strong on the starting 11? It's going to be Q's going to come in for Nunes, isn't he? And we can get onto it in a minute, but I see quite a big advantage for Town in midfield in this game with Matasiwa and Kiyusta. Kiyusta, as we say, is probably too good for the level, and Matasiwa is an absolute destroyer.
Yeah, we spoke about this a bit yesterday, didn't we? And kind of highlighted the midfield difference. I think that every single game I've seen so far, I guess outside of the Birmingham one, I've felt that Ipswich's midfield has been such a key advantage for them in games, and especially now we've got to see this midfield partnership grow between Kiyusta and Matasiwa, which has happened since the Derby game, I think, when they both played together, wasn't it? Or at least from the start. Being able to see that has been really exciting, and it was one of those where when Kiyusta came in towards the end of the transfer window, you kind of pieced things together and thought, hang on, this is a midfield that played together in the French top flight before. And like a good League One team there as well, and we're going to have them in the Championship, and they've delivered so far. And I think that going into pretty much any game at this level, they'd have the advantage. So defense stays the same for me. Midfield we touched upon. Striker I think is quite obvious. So I'm in the same boat where you have Philogene on the left. I think Smodics for me is the number 10, and then the other big debate is going to be the right side, isn't it? Where you've got, in my mind, two realistic options. You've probably got the wild card option if you could go with Jack Clark, but I don't think that, exactly. It's one that we saw at the start of the season. I'm more just thinking on the fact that his form has picked up and he's been delivering with goals. Is there a way to get him back into the team? It's difficult with Jaden Philogene. I don't think that it suits the balance. So you're looking at Sindrivala Ageli or you're looking at Casey McAteer. I think this is probably one where I think Casey McAteer will start this match. Personally, I think he'll be the one that McKenna picks. If it was me, I'd probably lean towards putting Ageli in. But I just feel that there is a bit of risk with kind of what I saw a little bit from his full debut was a little bit of over eagerness at times, drew some sloppy fouls, so much good play within that, but just some things that need adapting to. And I worry that coming into a very intense derby, if he's playing from the start, that is the kind of thing that could lead to set pieces, that could lead to bookings or red cards, for example. McAteer, I think, is probably the safer bet, and I think will be the one that starts. I mean, we're talking about people becoming heroes. He's someone that I think has not won over many fans at all within the Ipswich fan base. If he was to score against Norwich, that would totally change his career here.
Yeah. Have you got any thoughts on that, Stu? I know in your starting 11 you put Ageli in there. Just looking at the comments here, I'm flashing a few of these up. Quite a few people saying they would favour Ageli over McAteer. You got a strong feeling on that?
I've got a strong feeling. This was the position I probably agonised over the most. Just to address a couple of points in there, people talking about getting Nunes in as a 10 or putting Jack Clark on the right. I'm not sure about that. I know they've both done it before, Nunes in particular. They tried the Clark on the right experiment in pre-season, in the early stages of the season. It didn't really work. Kieran McKenna, I think, explicitly talked about the balance of his attack not being right, and I think that really was kind of pointed towards the Clark on the right experiment. So I can't see that. Just to reiterate what Alex said, really, I think McAteer will be seen as the safer option. He's he's bigger than I realised. Casey McAteer, seeing him up close, and I think he's decent in the air. And Norwich have got some big boys in their team, and so there'll be that element that comes in to consideration. That Agueli's a big lad himself, but I don't know if he's necessarily as good in the air as McAteer. Hadn't really considered what Alex just said about him giving away quite a few free kicks on his debut. That is definitely worth something for consideration. McAteer didn't have the best of games in midweek, and I don't know where his confidence is at the moment as a manager. Then is it a case of showing a bit of faith and sticking with someone and not trashing their confidence, or they've got the championship record signing here in Sindre Violet-Agueli. Fearlessness of youth. That's one way of looking at it, isn't it? Just chuck him in. He's probably not got loads of background knowledge on really what an East Anglian Derby's about. Just go in there and have fun, lad, and see what you can do. Make yourself a hero. Hardest decision for me, I think, in this lineup. It probably will be for Kieran McKenna as well.
A few comments just coming in, interesting about the ref, Ross, and you can speak to this because you've done a little bit on him. Quite inexperienced. Fair to say that this is going to be the biggest game of his career so far, and walking into a game like this, it's going to be a lot of pressure on him because obviously Derby days are different sort of games, very intense.
Yeah. Thomas Kirk is the name, Yorkshireman. The funny thing is, though, on the EFL appointments page, apparently he's also refereeing the Swansea-Leicester City game on Saturday. So I don't know who's got that ballsed up on the website. So I don't think he's doing back-to-back games because I don't think that would be allowed. But yeah, he's not reffed many championship games. I think he's only been promoted to the championship this season, like properly. I think he's had a few championship games prior, but he's mainly been League One, League Two. I think he got into the Football League in 2022. So, it's an interesting one because the ref can sometimes be a big talking point in terms of a decision. My hot take, by the way.
Another one.
Hot take. Maybe there'll be a red card in this game. I think the derbies, I don't know, they haven't been as feisty as they have been in years gone by. I felt like the last two games, there wasn't that much of an edge to it, really. I know we had Sam Morsey and stuff, but I don't know. I like a bit more passion in this derby. So, obviously Town don't get too carried away, but maybe a red card could be, with Norwich struggling and frustrated, potentially they could have a player sent off.
Yeah. How many? So I think so far now we've got a red card. I think you said Agueli's going to have a moment. Who else have you said is going to have a moment? I think you said McAteer as well.
Yeah.
Who else was it? Was that Zon? I think it said Zon.
Zon to come off the bench.
Zon to do something. Yeah, you've got quite a few people just literally naming everyone in the squad and putting a red card out as well. Just while we do this, boys, I'm just going to. I've saved this. This is the. What is this? Raspberry and white chocolate vodka liqueur from Stardust Spirits. I'm just going to open this.
Down it.
Yeah, maybe not down it. Actually, I should have opened it before because it's pretty tight. So while I struggle with this, I might put myself on mute. I want to ask you boys, where are Town going to win this, and where potentially could they lose it? Now, AJ, I'll look at two areas for me where I think Town have got a definite advantage. I've already mentioned midfield, and I think generally you would say that player for player, Town are superior in every department, maybe apart from Josh Sargent. But then when you look at the bench and what Town can bring on, I mean, that could be tremendous. So for me, the bench and the midfield are two huge advantages. Where do you think they're going to win this?
Yeah, those are basically the two. The midfield's the one that stands out to me because they've got such a strong balance with Kiyusa and Matasiwa as the two. Matasiwa, the destroyer, nothing seems to get past him. God, everyone's struggling with their Stardust Spirits today. And Kiyusa, for me, I think coming up against Pelle Matson in this case, who's not the most experienced within English football, still quite a young midfielder. I think that if Kiyusa can have the beating of him and the way that he works things into space, the dribbles, the way that he spins past people, that then links up to allow Jaden Philogene into space. So that's the combination for me. It's going to be Kiyusa linking up the left side with Davis running down, with Philogene running down. That's going to be crucial. And the bench, as you say, I think that the bench options are going to look so different when the teams are announced at 10:45, isn't it, on Sunday morning? I mean, if it's the team that I think it will be, you've got Agueli coming on, you've got Akpom coming on, you've got Azon coming on, you've got Jack Clark coming on. There's so much talent there. So those are the two things I would agree. Can I throw in an area to combat this and go to the other side? Then what I think would be an issue, set pieces. That is my concern within this. We've had a couple of games now where set pieces have been problematic and they've conceded set piece goals. I can't look at the comments because they're going to make me laugh. They've conceded set piece goals, and Norwich have that threat. I think they're going to be direct. They're going to go up to a forward line of players that are well over 6 foot. Sargent, Makama. I think Schwartau is quite a tall player as well. You've got Harry Darling, who's a constant threat from set pieces. I think he had 2 or 3 pretty good opportunities in the game. I watched them play against West Brom. That is the area where a big improvement is going to need to be made. And I think probably what Liam Manning will target based off Town's last couple of performances.
Rossi, have you managed to get yours open?
Yeah, I found the blood orange gin liqueur.
Have a little sip on that. Give us a review.
Down it, yeah.
Well, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah.
Excellent. There we go. Well, you use KOA, ciderspirits.co.uk, forget 20% off. I've made a mistake. I tried to use my teeth to open this bottle, and in doing so, I've actually made the top tighter. And
paid a lot of money for them, mate. Don't ruin
exactly.
them.
Someone did just point out. Got to be careful with those Nashers. So I will be. Anyway, Stewie, where are Town going to win and lose this game? And also, could you hit us with a potential Derby Day hero? There are players in this team. You've already mentioned Ivan Azon. Has that feel of potential Derby Day? He might like a derby. Anyone else you can give us?
I'll probably end up going all Ross and make
all of them.
make a case for anyone. Everyone will say, "Oh, I hope he's the Derby hero. I hope he's the one that writes himself into folklore." You could probably say that about quite a few in there, to be honest, couldn't you? Where will it be? You've mentioned some key areas. I'll also throw in the left side as well, because Jaden Philogene on fire at Portman Road at the moment, and Leif Davis is looking back in business. A man who was very open about his confidence, taking a bit of a kicking in the Premier League, facing world-class wingers every week, but he says it was starting to come back to him towards the back end of last season, and I think he's right bang at it. I think AJ made him man of the match. I'd agree with that in midweek. Unfortunate not to add to his assist tally. He did set up George Hurst last weekend against Portsmouth. He's back to being his non-stop running up and down that left-hand side. He's now sort of playing that slightly inverted role at times, adding some different strings to his bow. So the left side, I think, is an area that Ipswich can get some joy from. In terms of weaknesses, obviously the last 2 goals against have come from corners, but prior to that, Ipswich have been struggling with that long, straight ball over the top, haven't they? They've got themselves into a bit of a muddle. They defend really well for the most part, concede very few chances, and then have these little lapses in concentration that have led to red cards or penalties or goals against. And, Paddy warned us earlier that Sargent is someone who's runs off the last shoulder that can cause some issues. So that's something Ipswich need to really be watertight on going into this game.
Boys, is there anything else you want to highlight? And I want us all to pick a potential Derby Day hero. I'm going to come to you, Rossi. You've already named about 14 players, but if you could pick one who you think this player in particular is going to write themselves into Derby Day folklore. You've done a bit today, looking back at the Canary Crusher and Alex Mathie, and obviously John Walk, that even score at all time in this fixture. If I gave you some money and said, right, I want you to tell me who's going to be a Derby Day hero, who would you put it
on? Maybe someone who doesn't score in the game but has an unbelievable match, and I think that could be Azor Matasiwa. I know that's another player that I'm now naming. So I could have gone Sammy Sloddocks and gone, he's going to score the opening goal, and then someone else then score. But I think midfield is going to be the key battle in this one, and I think Azor is he's going to fight every Norwich player. He may not get sent off or anything like that. That's my hot take earlier, as I mentioned. But Azor's going to be incredible, and I think he's going to battle for every ball, and he'll be key.
You give me, AJ, from your massage parlour
Yeah.
a Derby Day hero. So Rossi's gone Azor, and
Sorry, I just laughed to myself because I was already thinking about will it be a happy ending for Ipswich Town? That's
come
where
on.
my brain went.
Oh,
Come on,
I've said it. I've not even cracked open the spirits yet either.
It's
so.
Friday night. We've wanted a drink. Come on, let's we're better than that, boys. AJ, give us a Derby Day hero.
God, Stu, it's not post Watershed. Jeez. Derby Day hero, you know my Mark, because you asked us for predictions. You've seen all of our predictions. Wow.
I have seen,
and
yeah.
The one that I predicted is Ivan Azon. I think that in a game of fine margins, having him off the bench, he seems like an annoying player to play against. Where you have the physical battle that you're going to come up against with George Hurst, he just seems like a real pain Azon to defend against. The way he wants to kind of wriggle and move and run at you. Yeah, I think that against some tired defensive legs of Norwich, I think that coming on late on, he could be the hero.
Just looking at these comments, Lazar for life, Stewie, very much enjoyed that. That's a cheeky comment. AJ, I've given up, mate. I can't. I bit it, and now it won't open at all. So I've made a huge error. I regret my choice. Someone here, Lazar for life, saying Smodek's hat trick. Oh, that'd be tremendous, wouldn't it? I think the time has come, boys, for us to do predictions. But before we do roll to predictions, I think it's important that we see, Rossi, just how the latest league table stands, because I've always said that the people who are good at predictions are the best people and clearly know their stuff when it comes to football. So, just out of interest, what is the what's the standing at the moment in the prediction league tables? You got it to flash up?
Yeah, you did get the result bang on, and also Stu did as well. So yeah, let's bring it up. Here it is in all its glory.
Oh, look at that! Who's top?
Joint top.
Well, top on goal difference, or on name.
Alphabetical.
Yeah. I'm pleased with that. I'm very pleased with that. AJ, obviously you don't take these things very seriously. How do you feel about being bottom? What have you got to say for yourself?
Can we just highlight the fact that Ipswich are 13th in the Championship table? These things mean nothing, Mark Heath.
Oh, here we go.
We're in early October. Let's wait and see where we are in May.
Alex doesn't even look. He doesn't even know where he is in the table. He doesn't. The table doesn't even take shape till 10 games, and it's a marathon, not a sprint. And you just don't even. We don't know where we are in the table because we just take it a game at a time.
Exactly. Good news, friends. I have managed to open this. I think I have just lacerated my hand as well, but I'm going to whack this in the old snifter glass. I've got the proper job, boys. Old snifter glass. Ooh, that smells potent. Let's give this a little drink before we get to predictions. Some big predictions coming in, by the way. Wow, that is a punchy mouthful of alcohol. Raspberry and white chocolate vodka. That is nice. I've never ever had anything quite like that before. It's sweet, it's rich, coats the mouth. Lovely stuff. Get yourself some of that with the code KOA. Right then, predictions. I've seen some cup flying in, some big numbers, boys. Some big numbers. And I was kind of toying. Here we go. Look, we've got Norman here saying repeat of the Demolition Derby, 5-0. Where was the other one here? Eric Clacton, 4-0 to Town. I've seen some other ones as well. Again, sort of big scores. And we got 3-1 here as well from Adrian Garrett. There is a danger though, isn't there, boys? And I fell into this trap last time when I predicted a 5-1, and it could have been 5-1. It really could have been had Nathan Broadhead stuck them away. That we go into this game a little bit overconfident. So I'm going to ask you your predictions in sequence. I'm going to start with you, Rossi, because you're second in the table behind me. How do you see this going?
Oh, head goes. Oh, they're not going to do it. But heart goes. Ipswich Town win 2-0. Sammy Smodeks to open the scoring. Be a Derby Day hero, just like Azor Matatiwa. And then Jaden Philogene to seal the win on the hour mark. and then Town is a party at Portman Road, and finally we break that record. And yeah, someone made a good point in the comments, and McKenna said it as well, that it's Norwich's record to lose, not us to break. It's theirs to lose. So yeah, hopefully 2-0 is the scoreline, but I'll be happy with any scoreline. Just a Town win, please.
Just gonna bring in some more scores before I ask AJ. Stu's got his as well. See if you can get that open, Stu. Of course he can, because he's down the gym all the time, isn't he? Doesn't he? Absolutely no problem with his grip strength. Look at that, straight in. 2-1 from Lee. Colin says 3-0. Let's take a few more before we get to AJ's prediction. Whoever scores first wins the match. Let's hope it's Ipswich 1, Town 0. Warren says Town 3-0 up at half time, 4-1 final score. That would be lovely, wouldn't it? A draw, 1-1 from Shabby McNally. To be fair, I was kind of ruminating on that as well. In Wallbank prediction, we smashed them. I don't end up going to work on Monday. Yeah, I mean, if it is like a 5-0, there might be quite a lot of sore heads in Suffolk on Monday. Should actually be you next, Stu, shouldn't it? Because we'll leave AJ to last because he's bottom. Stu, what do you think might happen or is going to happen?
We do our pre-season predictions around all manner of things, don't we? Top 2, top 6, where Ipswich will finish, top goal scorer. And one of those in there was, will Ipswich win a derby? Finally. And I went quite ballsy with that. I said, yes. And not only will they win it, they'll win it emphatically on October the 5th. And that was what I threw out there back in August. And I'm going to double down on that. And I know there's all this nerviness around the fear of you can end up with egg on your face and it's a derby and form goes out the window. And yeah, they may well come to Portman Road and try and be spoilers and make it a horrible type of game. But honestly, I sat down and I wrote that piece earlier in the week, reasons why Ipswich can win this game. And they're plentiful. And they're odds-on favourites for a reason. And the biggest one of all is that they've got better players.
Yeah.
If you put together a combined starting 11 of the two teams, trying to put all kind of blue-tinted specs aside, how many Norwich players would you pick at the moment for a starting 11? Josh Sargent?
Maybe one, yeah.
Maybe?
Yeah.
And then you get into the bench as well. Again, probably very few. Stop being cocky. That is just objectively where the two clubs are at the moment. And the only thing that would have given me pause for concern is whether you think Ipswich, they weren't fully joined up. It wasn't sparkling football on Tuesday night. They're not there yet in terms of what they can be as a team. But if Norwich were coming here as this kind of stable, settled side that could maybe have preyed on that, I'd have had some concerns. But we've heard from Paddy at length earlier what the mood is over the border at the moment. I don't think they're in a position to prey on that. Might be famous last words, but I have to go with an Ipswich win. 3-1 is the scoreline I've put on it. I can't quite bring myself to say clean sheets with some of the goals that have been let in. But yeah, that's what I'll go with.
Who's going to score first?
This is based purely on hearing the man speak himself at Playford Road this afternoon. Dara O'Shea, the skipper. I'm playing law of averages here because we can't quite, the front four, we're not exactly sure who's going to start. Dara O'Shea will certainly start in this game, and he feels he's due a goal. He feels he's got himself on the end of a few set pieces this season. Was it Derby where he had one come off the post? So, yeah, we talk about set-piece vulnerability for Ipswich. Maybe they might grab one themselves in a typically tight Derby affair, and that can hopefully sort of relieve the tension a little bit, and Ipswich can maybe enjoy themselves from there.
Excellent, Stu. What are you drinking? What have you got on the go?
I have an Amaretto vodka liqueur here, and I've just had one little swig. 25%. Wow, probably shouldn't see this off tonight. We have got a day off tomorrow, so it's all right.
Exactly. Give us your review.
Oh, I like that. That is the best of the ones I've had so far. If you like your Amaretto,
yeah,
Amaretto vodka liqueur. Very nice.
Excellent. So you're saying 3-1. Dara O'Shea. Ross, just remind me what you said. 2-0, wasn't it?
2-0, Sammy Smodics, first goal
Sammy
scorer.
Smodics. Let me ask you before I ask you for your prediction, AJ. One thing that does concern me, we've already seen it become an issue for Town this season, is the weather on Sunday. We're in the middle of a storm. It's not an innuendo to say that currently my back gate is flapping in the wind, and my back gate's also flapping about this game. If the weather is an issue, it's windy, it's rainy. Do you think that could be a factor in the game that kind of brings Ipswich down maybe a little bit in terms of the way they like to play football?
Can I bring up a comment? You're talking about your back gate flapping, and I've just seen this one here, which I think just about summed it up. Colin Plum, very professional lads tonight. Yeah, not too sure. Yeah, could it be a factor? I mean, the first thing to say is I think Ipswich have better pitch drainage than Blackburn, considering that they were just playing on like a waterbed for most of that second half. Yeah, of course, it could be a factor if it ends up chucking it down. You're in a situation where the ball becomes harder to move, and it suits it suits Norwich more because they're probably going to want to slow it down and frustrate and sit deep and be direct. And that kind of ties in with a little bit of a dilemma that I had in my head. And going on to the prediction, one of the score lines that I had initially kind of tied in with a lot of the Derby games that we've seen recently. It goes back to, that's kind of giving it away, it was the Southampton-Portsmouth one where lunchtime kickoff on a Sunday, it can be a little bit flat sometimes, didn't really work out, and it was a pretty dour 0-0. And that was one of those I had in my head where sometimes there's all this build-up and it just doesn't quite work. But I can't do that. That's boring and stupid, and I'm not going to predict a 0-0. So I'm going to predict Ipswich to win the match. For all the reasons that Stu has said, I feel like Stu should have gone last because he had a very rousing speech about why he thinks that Ipswich will win. I can't quite match that. I just think they do because they're better than Norwich. I've got Jaden Philogene to score first because he's on fire, and I like the idea of him running at Jack Stacey and the overloads we can have with Davis down that flank and the link up with Kayusta that I mentioned. I think that Norwich will be able to peg this one back. I can see it being one of those kind of stupid John Rowe style goals, like one of the he's gone in off his arse kind of thing. And then Ipswich go and win it. And it'll be the boy I said, Ivan is on off the bench to win it for Ipswich Town. Cheers.
I would love Eisen to score. It'd be amazing. We're getting some weather forecast coming in. 40 mile per hour gusts, no rain currently forecast. Wind doesn't play such a factor as it used to with the tall north and south sounds. Let's hope not. Ian Warbank comes in. Another hot take. Roscoe's going to get soaked on Sunday. Yeah, that's probably just remember your set of clothes, Rossi. So we're all going win. I am going to go as the leader currently in the league prediction table, and therefore the best man in this particular virtual chat room. I'm going to say, now I've been back and forth. I started the week very, very confident. I thought I was even going to go 5-1 again because I felt like, although in the end that didn't happen, it could well have happened that day. And I get a similar vibe. Then I thought, hold on, it's a derby. Don't get carried away. They've not won for 16 years, and I got obsessed with 1-1. And then I looked objectively at the teams. I spoke to the boys down the road on the Pinken, and removing all emotion and kind of subjectivity from it. When you look at the teams, you look at the stats, you look at where the Bane's going to be played. The only thing you can conclude is that Ipswich Town are going to win this game. I love the fact that there isn't a lot of players in the team that have the scars from previous derby defeats. This is going to be a new experience. It's a real chance for this team to write themselves into folklore. So I think it's going to be 3-0 to Ipswich Town. And the way I see it happening is it's going to be a really tense, nervy, blood and thunder kind of opening. I see Jens Kayusta opening the scoring. I think when we talk about Derby Day heroes, and the best player I think probably going to be on the pitch is Jens Kayusta. So I see him opening the scoring, and then I see it being again a bit nervy at 1-0. And I see the bench being the key to kind of finishing the game. The players coming off the bench and getting a couple of late goals. And it's 3-0. And it's one of those games, it's 3-0, but doesn't feel as comfortable as a 3-0 might look on paper because it's been a derby and there have been chances back and forth. But I'm going to say 3-0 Jens Kajusta. So we're all predicting wins, which feels significant. Although, to be fair, we all predicted wins last time, and that wasn't significant. But in this case, hopefully that will be significant. So I'm saying 3-0 Jens Kajusta. AJ is saying 2-1 Jaden Philogene. Rossi is saying 2-0 Sammy Smodics. And Stewie is saying 3-1. Just remind me, Dara O'Shea, wasn't it? You were saying. Superb. Boys, we've done an hour and 15 minutes. We've come to the end of the show. Anything else to mention? Anything else you want to throw into the mixer ahead of Sunday? Speak now or forever hold your peace, because I want you now to leave your receipts in this chat. I don't want you to be coming back saying, well, I thought that would happen on Monday. I want you to say it now.
Enjoy yourselves.
Here we go.
But enjoy yourselves by being disciplined. Let's not throw things at people's cars this time.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
Yeah.
be fired up. Put all your passion into supporting the home team. Don't do anything silly. All right. You all love your football club, but there needs to be some lines drawn in the sand. Yeah, that's what I would say.
All right, Dad.
Yeah, I'm trying to make up for my comment earlier.
Yeah, Rossi, give us something to think on. Give us another hot take.
It's more for the players if they're watching. It's my niece's 13th birthday on Sunday, so she's never seen Ipswich Town win. So if you don't win, then you're letting down a 13-year-old girl. So and obviously the whole Ipswich Town fan base. But yeah, win it for my niece Alana. Happy birthday to her, and yeah, bring it on.
AJ, what are you saying before?
I like that Ross said she's never seen an Ipswich Town win, and I was thinking, God, I thought they won last weekend. Blimey. I'll throw in a hot take then. You know my Ivan is on goal. It's going to come from a Darnell Furlong long throw.
Oh,
that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to go with that. Also, I had quite a lot of this left, and it's almost gone, which is a bit worrying.
It's potent, isn't it?
Happy Friday. This is the Biscoff biscuit vodka liqueur, the award-winning.
Yeah.
Yes, it should be said. Should I just finish it? Should I just be done with it? Live on air.
Go for it. Yeah,
go for it.
Is this where we insert a sort of drink responsibly message?
It's good stuff. It's really good stuff.
Yeah, that's my favourite. It's the best one.
Excellent. Well, it just leaves me then to remind you, friends, as we prepare to take our leave, you've seen us all drinking one of our sponsors this evening, Stardust Spirits. Use the code KOA at stardustspirits.co.uk for 20% off all the excellent concoctions. I can highly recommend this, actually. Raspberry and white chocolate vodka liqueur. It's very warming on a kind of early winter's evening. And also, Rossi, just remind us who the other sponsor is, because you've absolutely nailed this now, mate. I want you to say this confidently.
Yeah, someone actually said in the chat earlier that can I say peculiar, which I can.
You can, yeah.
But yeah.
No, you can also.
Stone.
Sorry, I trashed it. Carry on.
Molek, you laugh.
No, faster.
Molecular. No, bollocks. Yeah. Good company, based in Leiston. Cleaner products for your car. Boom. KOA 10.
Absolutely, yeah. Use the code KOA10 at checkout for 10% off all their excellent products. That is, and I'm not going to read out the first bit now, Stu, since you age shamed me for doing it. Molecular-uk.com. That's the website. No one uses www. I wouldn't do that because I'm cool, young, and relevant. So that's the website. KOA10 at checkout. Boys, shall we raise our glasses? Say thanks to everyone for joining us. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. Enjoy the game on Saturday if you are going. If you're not, follow it all with us. We stand once again on the brink, friends, once more into the fray. 16 years we've been waiting for this, and let's hope that come Sunday, we finally get the day, another bit of history that we've been waiting for. Boys, do it for yourselves. Do it for the fans. I don't really care how you do it, but just fucking do it. Friends, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you after the game when we're hopefully talking about a win for Ipswich Town. Have a great night. Have a great weekend. See you next time.